G'day once again, welcome to another episode of Shut Up, I'm Talking with me, Dave Jackson. We're still down here on the southern coast of Spain in the beautiful part of the world called Andalucia. We're filming here at Max Beach at Riviera del Sol with our studio audience. Today's topic is, have you been ripped off in Spain? We realise these sort of naughty people get all around the world and do all sorts of nasty things with illicit goings on regarding buying, selling houses, cars, doesn't matter what it is, but things do happen. They happen here in Spain, they happen anywhere in Europe. But today we've invited some guests into the studio who've actually had, sadly, a very unfortunate situation happen to them down here in Spain. Please welcome to our studio audience today, Linda Murphy. Hi, Linda.
Hi there.
Nice to see you. Thank you very much for coming in.
No problem at all.
Now, you and I have been communicating via many emails over the last couple of weeks, haven't we?
Yes, we have, yes.
And, of course, you saw our television channel advertising for participants in this particular show.
Yes.
Tell us exactly what's happened to you. It's not a very pleasant situation, is it?
It's not, and one has to try and be brief. Basically, we put a deposit on a property, and 2 days later, after paying the deposit, we went back and saw a big digger in the garden, and the garden was no longer there. And the owner said that there'd been a problem with the wall, and the wall was moving. We contacted our lawyer, and he didn't reply at that time, but it got nearer the completion date that we had to finish the contract option, and the property was getting worse and worse. The wall, it's like a 100-metre long wall, about 10 metres high, and it was just continuing to move away from the property. It was supporting the garden and the villa, and they were supposed to be following architect's drawings to rectify this problem, but in fact, when we saw the drawings, they hadn't followed the plans at all. And they tied the wall with an anchorage to the swimming pool, so the swimming pool was now supporting this wall. And we contacted the lawyer and said, like, this is a big problem. And he said, don't worry, I'll get a surveyor down. A surveyor came down, and he looked at it all, and he just said, this is like a load of cowboys doing this job. You can't buy this property, because if this wall falls, there's villas below it. It's dangerous, and we advise you not to carry on. So the lawyer said to us, there's no problem, we will get you your deposit back. Really, there is no problem. So, what happened next?
Well, first of all, before you go on, I mean,
that's the beginning.
That was a big story for you to reiterate in
Yes.
one massive sentence. But what fascinates me, when we communicated via the emails, you said to me that the deposit that you'd made was given straight to the builder.
Well, that seemingly happens in Spain. When you give a deposit, it goes straight to the owner of the villa.
Just let me ask you, was this a brand new house or was it an old house?
No, it was about 3-4 years old.
So it'd been there some time?
It had been there some time. He was still finishing it, really.
Yes, it hadn't been completed.
It was still finishing, so part of the contract was he had to complete it, and he had to make the garden like a garden, because it wasn't like a garden before. And it was all part of the contract that everything had to be nice and tidy for this date, which was actually the 7th of April.
So this was a private sale from a man who owned the villa. It wasn't a promoter or a builder?
No, we bought it through an estate agent, and she was with us. She came down there and looked at it with her husband, who was actually a surveyor, and everybody was unanimous in this decision that this property really had become defective.
Let me just give you a break for a second, because I want to go over here and chat to this man behind me, because I've invited this gentleman in specifically because he's in the real estate industry down here in Spain. Now, this lovely young lady over here explained the situation to me when she's bought this house. They've given a deposit, but they've given the deposit straight to the vendor. Is that normal?
No, it's not normal. It should never happen. A proper professional agent will have an account which is to some degree regulated by the government, called a provisiones de fondos account, which to you and I we would know as a client account. So in the first instance, to actually reserve a property or take it off the market, that deposit should be paid to the agent in the provisiones de fondos account.
Which is like a trust account, is it?
Yeah,
is that held by the agent himself, is it?
It's an account in the agent's name, but it's a separate account that should only be used for deposits.
Yeah, so client's money.
And basically a good agent also will have a contract which states in there that, you know, what happens if the buyer pulls out, what happens if the vendor pulls out, and it should really be signed by all parties, including the agent. So in this case, it would seem that the money's gone straight to the vendor. So there's really, you know, no comeback.
There's no recourse, is there?
No.
How do you get money back out of the vendor?
Well, you'd have to go through lawyers and incur the expense of doing that. But the agent, I would say, without knowing all the facts, but from what I've heard just now, I would say the agent was at fault for allowing the vendor to actually receive that deposit.
That's